start working with colored ink today, and we want to see that what is different between ink and watercolor. The first difference is that ink is more translucent, then you can see through it. When you're using of this, you can see whatever that it's behind your colors. For example, if it's this red and you want to add the blue to it and making it more bluish, you're gonna see purple, okay, because it's translucent, and when you're adding the colors you can see both of them together. Or if you have a line here, you're gonna see it. The second difference is I'm using of my red here, and then this is my watercolor that I'm using of this red here, and just thinking that I'm making a mistake, and I'm using of the ink. Okay, oh, it's getting very diluted, and I'm using of the ink. Remember, and I'm doing it 2 times, then you see what's gonna happen after it's getting dry. Then I'm gonna do the ink again here and the watercolor. Okay, with the ink, if you want to change something, you don't like it, you want to just make a mistake and you want to get rid of this is very difficult. You see that it's not gonna, but with the watercolor we can do it. Okay, then this is that we can see that, and with the watercolor I can make it a little more wet, and again we can get rid of this, not completely but mostly. But with the ink you cannot. Okay, mostly it's permanent. Then you have to have a rag in your hand in case that you're making a mistake with the acrylic. You have to be ready to just pick up the pigment as much as you can, and it has to be fast. Remember, it's an advantage and disadvantage. Advantage like that, because I want to see that one, and doing whatever, as much of the layer you want to add to it. It's not gonna blend with the layers that we add before that. Then this is an advantage, it's not gonna get muddy. But the disadvantage, if we have a mistake here, it's very hard to get rid of this. And I ask for 3 permanent colors, and I ask for the black. This was the color that we're working on. This, you know that if you want to make an orange, you're using of the yellow and red and blue gonna give you purple, and 3 of them together gonna give us some. You see that every time you're using of the one of the colors, just wash your brush, then it's not gonna get very coming from the color to colors and make it muddy. Okay, this is gonna be almost brown. Then it's a little orangish brown. If I want to make it more brown, okay, I'm adding more blue on this. Okay, then the blue is gonna make it more darker brown. And again, you can use of the watercolor palette with the small bowls, that it's better. I'm not in my studio, that's why I don't have access to my palette. But this is somehow that we're gonna make the brown. And the other colors, green, purple, and orange, how we are gonna make it. Then for the watercolor and for the ink, I ask you to use of the cold press. Cold press has more texture on this, and when we are working on this, it's gonna give us more time to get dry and we can manipulate it better. So the first step, you see that we have a lot of the different technique for this. The technique that we are using today, we're gonna use of the light to dark. Watercolor and ink, we are using of light to dark mostly. And for the oil and acrylic, usually we are using of dark to light. So the first thing that I want to start with this is making everywhere mostly light, and I'm gonna come with the brown that I make, and I like that it's a little orangish brown, and I don't want to make it dark at all. Remember the outlines that you see here, you have to completely erase it, because we can see through our paint these, pencil drawing. But I didn't do it because I want you to see that how I'm working here. Then most of the parts, and when it's getting lighter, somehow you can leave some white area here without touching it. But remember again that be very careful with the pencil, because you see, if I'm doing it, it's gonna get muddy, and I'm trying to go just around it a little. And first is that I'm making the skull completely with the brownish color that I have. Remember, for drawing the skull, I put a link for you. I have a tutorial for the how you can make a skull drawing just with the drawing. For this part, I want to add a little more yellow. You see, I manipulate the colors. I want it to be light for now, and just yellowish on the, a little more yellowish on teeth. Okay, then we are done with this stage. We want to, when you're choosing the skull that you want to draw, try to find a picture of a skull that it has a good light and dark on this. Then it doesn't matter if it's in any different pose of the skull, just have a good light and dark, because even if does not have it, you have to add. This is the picture that I'm using right now, and it's for the medium and dark. So the regular thing is using of the brown, but I don't like the idea to use of the brown everywhere. I want to change the colors in the colors that I like them more. Then I'm coming and making purplish colors for the medium part, and we have a different medium. A lot of the medium we can see here. Then the afterlight, what color we have, we're gonna use of this. For the second medium one, I want to have a little orange. Then I'm using of the a little orange and dilute it with the water then it's not getting very dark. Remember, you always can make it darker if it's not dark enough. But if you're making it very dark, it's difficult to get rid of the darkness. I'm looking up here and I see that in this area, again, if it's going like that, I want to use a more dry brush. It means that my brush doesn't have a lot of pigment on this and it's mostly dry. Then the important part is that you have to blend the light to dark. You see that how I'm using of that part to make it you know, more naturalistic. I'm coming and adding a little of the shape of eyebrow that we have here. And remember that we don't have it everywhere. Before it's getting dry, again, I'm gonna come back to it and make it a little blend around it. Watercolor and ink, they might make some kind of the spot on your drawing, and this is the beauty of them. We can make it very smooth. This is not difficult, but I think this is a part of personality of the liquid ones, and I like it. I want to just make it a little less visible here. Then before it's getting dry, I'm blend it. Okay, then this, and I'm again everywhere that I see a little of the darker area, you're coming and adding this. I'm not going to the very dark area, but this part. Right side of the skull is the dark side of this. Then we have more darkness here. You see, it's gradually I'm making it darker. I have a good part of the dark here and just coming and make it blend it here. So this is the first two layers that we are making. Now I want to make a little darker value, and for that I want to use purple. Okay, then I don't want to going toward the brown. I want to go toward the purple. Then I'm using of the blue and red. And making a purple that mostly it's reddish, you know, like a violet ones. I don't want to use of the very bluish one now, okay, because it has more red and the orange has red, and it's gonna have some kind of the combination of the red that I want to see here. Okay, and okay, I'm gonna dilute it and use of this for the second layer of the dark that I see. I see that here, and again I see I have more than I want there. My brush is wet. Remember that you can control these ones. I am just following the dark and light, and I want to have a little more light here. and here I don't want to cover it completely. In that part it's not as light of here, then I'm gonna make the shadows very, very blurry. Don't make it very sharp shadows. Okay, and for that one, that it's gonna be, again, because we have the light coming from the left to right, then this part is lighter and this part is darker. I'm just make my brush almost wash with the water, and I'm coming and just bring the dark that I want to this area. This part is not as dark as this part, and this part is darker. In the first that we are looking of this, I need a little more of the, okay, in the, it's a little darker than this area, so I'm gonna make it, okay, it's not dark enough. You see that, just try it and see how you want your darkness. I'm looking at this, I still cannot see enough, you know, contrast between this one and this one. I know that I have to leave one light area here, but still I want to make it darker, but I'm gonna do it later. From here that we had the orange, the, again, important part is that start with the blending. The I make it a little wet. You did it in the landscape, but I'm making it a little wet, and I'm coming to add the purple here, that it's the darkest part of the top of the skull, and just blend it. And toward this part, I'm gonna bring it a little more blue I need. And be sure in this part that you have the darkness just before it's getting dry. With the dry brush, blend it. Don't let it be like a just some kind of the line between light and dark. Okay, we have more darkness here, then I'm gonna add this darkness here. Again, control the wetness of your brush. It's important that you control it and having a, you know, control in the part that you're painting. I want that to have a dark, a little darker area here, that I'm gonna do it later, but just make it ready for the next step. We had it here, and I'm gonna add darkness to here. You see that it's a layering that we are doing, and So from these steps, we're gonna just adding step by step darker and darker values on this. The same time we are adding to details, and as you see, for the darker area I'm using of the purple, but the purple is not dark from the first step. Then lighter, actually dark, I'm adding the lighter dot, and just a little by little I'm gonna add the more darkness. Here you see that I'm adding the darkness, and with a dry brush I'm blend it. Then I have some darker area and some lighter area, not just everywhere dark. Dark has to like we have the transition between dark and light in most of the area. You see that I'm putting in this part, I'm putting the dark first, then I'm blending it. But the other thing is the one that I did in the back of the skull, that I make this area wet, and then I add the dark to the edge of the skull. You can just try all of these different ways. The good thing is, because it's a ink, if you're adding purple on orange with watercolors, they're gonna blend together and show a muddy colors. But because it's a ink and I'm using of the purple on the orange, they're not gonna blend, and just showing a little of the orange in the lighter area of the purple. You remember that we made it first very light, and again layer by layer we are making the eyebrow darker. I'm gonna back to the some part that needs more medium. Some part is that you see maybe you don't have this value but you need it, then you're gonna add it. This is a touch-up part. And I'm adding the shadow here. First I'm making it wet, then I start with the dark, for the shadows. Remember that the shadow, the part that is closer to the object, is darker and the edge is sharper. But when you're getting further from the object, you're gonna make it lighter and with the blurry edges. I add a little red to some area, especially sometimes like the bottom part of the skull next to the shadow. I don't have it, but I need to make a contrast to show the skull, and then I'm using of a more reddish orange color. And I used of the little of gouache here, the white, watercolor tube, but I didn't like it. I actually, it's not necessary.